and leader guy. I haven't played much with that strategy, but I really like the looks of the 4-color deck. It's just you're taking a gamble with the mana. That's the only thing. But even then, you have if you hit red, you have access to Faithless Looting, and now you can fix your mana that way. It's a roundabout way of making sure you hit the right colors.
Well, interestingly enough, what both players have done with their Reanimator decks is they've taken a traditional Junkrites deck and they've really tried to shore up its aggro matchup. Obviously, Meru added an entire 4th color just so you could play 4 Boros Reckoners, an all-star against aggro decks. Duterte did something pretty similar. He does not have for example, in his deck list, he didn't play any Crater of Behemoths or Sin Collectors. He ran main deck Fiend Hunters and 2 main deck Voice of Resurgence instead, cards which are pretty good against aggro decks.
So we're underway, and Dan Duterte is going to start us off with an Arbor Elf, and Meru has the red mana and the Faithless Looting on turn 1. Meru on 6 cards for this game.
Right, so the mug, and unfortunate obviously, but Meru's deck, because of all the ways it plays out of the graveyard, should be able to recoup that card advantage pretty easily. And we see that with this Faithless Looting that he's casting on turn 2.
Yeah, I imagine that his deck may mulligan more due to that 4th color. So he's no stranger to going to below 7.
Right.
And he discards Angel of Serenity and Rootbound Crag off of that Faithless Looting. Plays a Godless Shrine tapped and passes back to Daniel.
So because Meru's hand here has quite a few lands in it, it does have that Angel of Serenity now in the graveyard, so he has a late game set up for himself. The worry when he has a hand that's a little light on business right now is that if Duterte, because of his mana creature, is able to just ramp into Thrag Tusks and Restoration Angels, just that amount of creature could be really hard for Meru to deal with.
So Daniel spends his turn casting a Mulch, and he hits 2 lands and another Mulch and a Fiend Hunter, and follows up with an Avacyn's Pilgrim. Passes back to Meru. Meru's got a Temple Garden, and looks like he's got a play himself. Abrupt Decay on the Avacyn's Pilgrim.
Yeah, he's just trying to avoid a turn 3 Thrag Tusk, and it's a pretty heads-up play by Bhanot.
So now, Daniel's turn, looks at his hand, decides attacking with the Arbor Elf is his best play for now, and we know he's got his land drop because he hit 2 off of the Mulch. He's going to play a Shockland tap, that is the Old Art Godless Shrine.
Yeah, Duterte has plenty of lands right now. So yeah, he'll be able to cast all his spells on curve. The concern then is that Meru's might be casting more powerful spells.
Right. Well, Meru is sculpting his hand here with a flashed back Faithless Looting for his turn. So at this point, he's deciding what he wants to discard. He's got several lands in hand as well. Looks like he's going to discard a Stomping Ground and something else. Didn't catch what the other card was.
Yeah, he does have a Blasphemous Act in hand. It'll be interesting to see how much he values the card. And the answer to that, I think, is not too much. He's discarded the Stomping Ground and I believe the Boros Battle Shaper, which is a 1-of in his main deck.
Yeah. And he passes back to Daniel.
Yeah, Meru's remaining hand has 2 more lands in Blasphemous Act. Remember, the Blasphemous Act currently, because only 1 creature, it costs 8. But it is a pretty good catch-all here. If Duterte is able to flood the board with creatures, then Blasphemous Act becomes castable.
So Daniel's going to spend his turn casting an Acidic Slime to deal with the 1 Godless Shrine on Meru's side of the board, and Meru knocked down to 3 lands. He plays a Dragon Skull Summit for his turn. So
yeah, Acidic Slime is one of those cards. Is one of the best weapons that Daniel Duterte has in this matchup because his deck is only 3 colors. He can play double green spells more easily. He has 2 Acidic Slimes in the main, and then a full 2 more of them in the sideboard. That's a card that Meru doesn't have access to, but is really powerful in this matchup. So you see the card just time walked Meru when it was cast.
Yeah, Sever the Bloodline from Meru is going to take care of that Acidic Slime. Unfortunately for him, doesn't necessarily take care of any further Acidic Slime.
Right, it doesn't get him his land back. The good news for Bhanot is that Daniel only has 1 more Acidic Slime. Because it's exiled, he doesn't have to worry about unburial rights on the Acidic Slime. But the damage has been done here.
Right. So Arbor Elf gets in, and Daniel plays an Overgrown Tomb tapped, passes back to Meru, who lays his graveyard out Dredge style, right there on the middle of the battlefield. And
yeah, it looks
like a Lingering Souls?
Yeah, a Lingering Souls here. Meru only plays 2 Lingering Souls in his main deck, and that's actually 2 more than Daniel's been playing. Originally, when we saw these rights decks, last season when they came out, Lingering Souls was an all-star in this deck. You know, they were trying to maximize on how many cards that could get value out of the graveyard. But I think as these decks have become more streamlined and more creature-oriented, they really have moved away from cards like Crater Hoof Behemoth and Lingering Souls for a large part.
So Meru's tired of getting the Arbor Elf beat down. Plays both the front side and the flashback on Lingering Souls. Has 4 spirits now. And Daniel's going to flash in an end-of-turn Restoration Angel, which would have been real dangerous with that Acidic Slime on board.
Exactly. Well, I mean, this is an interesting play here. What that shows is that Daniel's a little worried about getting aggroed by spirit tokens.
Yeah.
What that to me says is that he's pretty happy with the late game he already has in his hand. Which, I mean, we do see there's already another Restoration Angel in his hand. So he's just getting that wall out there to keep his life total at 20 until he draws into a larger threat.
So it looks like he has a play here. Is that I think that may be a Fiend Hunter. I believe he's got a Fiend Hunter, and that Cavern of Souls is naming Angel.
Right, that gives him access to the 3rd white mana he would need to cast a possible Angel of Serenity.
Yeah. So Daniel's going to go ahead and swing in with the Arbor Elf and the Restoration Angel, offering that elf up for trade with one of the spirits.
Yeah, so the swing with the elf there really shows that Daniel is not pressured on lands here. His pressure comes from, you know, does he have enough endgame threats right now?
Meru can decide he wants to trade his entire Lingering Souls for that Restoration Angel, or put them all in front of the Arbor Elf. And Arbor Elf dies, one of the spirits dies, and Meru takes 3 from the Restoration Angel.
So interestingly enough, Meru opted not to kill the Restoration Angel there. Now he doesn't have the ability to kill the Restoration Angel, as the 3 spirits cannot kill it.
So Meru draws his card for the turn. 3 spirits in play, along with 5 lands. And if you're looking, that is his graveyard there on the bottom left, just above Matthias's name. So 3 spirits swinging. And we know, or at least we suspect, Dan has another Restoration Angel that he can flash in here if he wants to take out one of those spirits.
It'll be interesting to see how he chooses to play with the Restoration Angel. It might be that he wants to wait to get more value off the Angel. You know, you'd hate to play the Angel right now and then draw a card like a Thrag Tusk or another Acidic Slime on a later turn.
So he declines to play any sort of Restoration Angel at that point, just takes the 3 and untaps and draws his card for the turn. So both players, Cavern of Souls, now on Angel. And there you see a Grizzly Salvage from Daniel. Hits Thrag Tusk, Avacyn's Pilgrim. What is that?
Voice of Resurgence.
Yeah, Voice of Resurgence. And
Daniel here's really rewarded for his patience. He actually has found the Thrag Tusk. And now the fact that he didn't play to the Restoration Angel in his hand is going to be really valuable.
So he takes the Thrag Tusk. And
it looks like he does have the Temple Garden to cast Thrag Tusk this turn.
Yeah, I'm trying to pick out the cards in his hand too. It almost looks like he may have another Acidic Slime, but I'm not sure of that. So he does play the Temple Garden untapped, shocks himself, attacks with the Restoration Angel, and there's that Thrag Tusk.
Yeah, and so in this matchup, especially when Daniel Duterte's deck, so like I said, when I was talking about the interesting way that he built his Junkrights deck, it lacks a real trump card. And, you know, lots of them will play a Crater of Behemoth, some card that you just slam and win the game. He does have his 3 Angel of Serenities, but outside of that, the biggest creature in his deck actually is the Thrag Tusk. So Angel Thrag Tusking is that is his late game and how he plans to win.
So on Meru's turn, he's going to attack with his 3 spirits yet again, knocking Daniel down to 14, I believe. And then he's going to follow that up with a Blasphemous Act.
Yeah, and what this does is it really acknowledges the fact that he knows that Duterte plays Restoration Angels, and if Duterte gets the chance to Restoration Angel on a Thrag Tusk, that is the potential for so much damage. Now the Thrag Tusk is in the yard, that's not an option.
So Meru has cleared the board except for a lone beast left over from a Thrag Tusk on Daniel's side.
Yeah, what I like what he's done with the beast token here. That's actually a 4/4 beast token.
Yeah.
And he's taking it and then put slid a sheet of paper over the power and toughness, just letting you know that it's only a 3/3.
Yeah. So Daniel's turn. Looks like maybe some discussion happening, or maybe Daniel's just trying to... Yeah, no, he's just trying to decide what he wants to do with his turn here. The Restoration Angel on the Thrag Tusk was the ideal plan.
Yeah, well, the game really is a race to Angel of Serenity right now. I believe Daniel Duterte has a Unburial Rights in his hand, which means that the pressure, while the game is a race to Angel of Serenity, the pressure is on Meru to find an Angel of Serenity, much more than it is on Duterte. Right now, if the status quo is maintained, Daniel should win in fairly short order.
So he swings in with his beast, and he's going to go ahead and cast that Unburial Rights to bring back that Thrag Tusk, gaining another 5 life. And I mean, Meru has Angel of Serenity in the yard, I believe.
Yeah, he did have a. He has both
card.
A Battle Shaper and an Angel of Serenity.
He just doesn't have an Unburial Rights. That's what Meru's digging for. He finds a Boros Reckoner, which is a turn late.
Yeah, down from the Blasphemous Act. Interestingly enough, in this matchup, the Reckoner Blasphemous Act combo, as we see, is not the game winner that you might think it is. It's not uncommon for Meru, for either player really, to be over 20 life in this matchup.
So Beast token is replaced by a more commonly seen Beast token, as you can see there. So on Daniel's turn, with a Thrag Tusk and a Beast, and 8 lands, facing down a Boros Reckoner on Meru's side of the board. Daniel's going to decide whether or not he wants to swing into that Reckoner. And, I mean, the problem with that is he very likely loses the front half of his Thrag Tusk and his Beast.
Right, so the question is, how badly do you want to deal 3 damage right now?
Exactly.
Is it worth the front half of a Thrag Tusk? I mean, my guess is that he'll probably make the play, because if the Thrag Tusk is killed, then Daniel will be able to Unburial Rights the Thrag Tusk.
The other option is the Fiend Hunter, which he has in his hand, and it looks like that's what he's going to go for.
Right, I think both. Right now, Daniel's in a commanding enough position that, he has a lot of pretty strong plays available to him. And this one, I think, as you pointed out, is the clear winner of a play. But even if his hand was empty, I think we still would be seeing this attack.
Yeah, so he uses the Fiend Hunter to deal with the Boros Reckoner, keep it out of the way for the moment, and Thrag Tusk and Beast will combine to knock Meru to 1.
Yeah, Meru's going to need a little bit of help to get this game. Really, his deck, despite having that extra dig, we did see that he played a turn 1 Faithless Looting. He was able to flash it back. That's 4 extra cards that he saw over Duterte. He was unable to access his late game, partially because of the fact that he did, once again, mulligan to 6.
Yeah, just wasn't able to find the right cards, and Daniel's able to apply enough pressure. And he's able to find an Unburial Rights, even if he didn't have the Angel of Serenity. Unburial Rights did a lot of work there, just bringing back the Thrag Tusk and bringing the beats. So.
All right. So we can talk a little bit more about the matchup, but before we do, for those of you who are joining us early in the morning, first of all, thank you. And the reward is that we do our trivia contest early in the morning.
So why don't you describe how that works?
All right. So if you're new here, we ask a question after game 1 of both our top 4 and finals this morning. If you correctly answer the question and on Twitter and have the hashtag your SCG Premium on it, you'll be eligible to win 6 or in the next round 12 months of free Star City Premium.
Yeah, so a lot of premium to give away, a lot of premium for you guys to win. I'm going to ask you guys a question, include that hashtag, and you're in the running. One of the random correct.
Remember, if you are watching this on tape delay, we've already awarded the winner, and we're very sorry. But for those of you who are up early in the morning and watching us the first time through, keep track.
We're also very amused by getting answers in the middle of the night.
Without fail, there's someone who's watching the tape delay who will tweet us this answer.
So the question, last night's question was, about the Grand Prix coming up, and it was where was the Grand Prix? And that's Miami. So Grand Prix Miami coming up next week. That's going to be huge. We've got artists, and I mean it's a standard format that we're seeing take shape right here. It's very much
anyone who's attended the last 2 Star City Grand Prix in Salt Lake City and Charlotte, should know just how exciting these Grand Prix have been.
Yeah.
They're put on really well, and I would, if you're in the area, I would say do what you can to make it to this event. Even if you don't play standard, the side events are enough to attend it for.
And if for some reason you can't make it out, SCG Live, of course, is going to bring you guys the coverage of the event, and we've got 3 commentators.
3, so not just
So
2, we
yeah,
have 3.
we've got 3 commentators for this Grand Prix. You guys, it's on you to find out who those 3 commentators are. So who is the commentator team for Grand Prix Miami next week?
All right.
It's 3 guys.
And you can find
There's
out
a hint.
this and more information about Grand Prix Miami at www.magicgp.com.
Yep, that will be one of the places you could possibly find the answer to this question. So.
All right, so let's go back to our matchup that we have.
Yeah.
Meru Bhanot, we saw winning in his top 8 match, now having a little bit more trouble with Daniel Duterte in his semifinal match.
Yeah, I mean, it feels to me like Meru has the edge, but, you know, sometimes the cards don't cooperate, and it feels like one of those situations, like you said, he mulliganed to 6. We saw 1 faithless looting, which was flashback, so I guess you can say it was 2, so he did see some extra cards. Never found it on Burial Rites, despite discarding an Angel of Serenity on turn 1. Like, he had things set up, but, you know, the cards weren't there.
Yeah,
so,
well, one of the things, actually, I think this matchup gets worse for Meru after sideboard.
Yeah,
So it's a little rough that he didn't win game 1. One of the reasons is that Meru does have the stronger graveyard game, but he's so much more reliant on it. As we saw there, Duterte has this game plan where he can just cast Thrag Tusks and Restoration Angels and make a huge army of 3/3s and gain tons of life. Bhanot does not have any Restoration Angels. His creature base really is 4 Reckoners, 4 Angels, Serenity, 4 Thrag Tusk. So what he has to rely on in his late game are these Haymaker style creatures he has. The 4 Angel Serenities, the 1 Boros Battle Shaper, the probably won't keep in the Sire of Insanity. It's not very good in this matchup. But what we will see is he'll use at a sideboard Gisela, Blade of Gold Knight, possibly Olivia Voldaren. So he needs to really rely on those to win. He does have 1 Acidic Slime that really pales in comparison to the 4 Acidic Slimes that Duterte is almost sure to have after sideboard.
Yeah, 2 in the main, 2 in the board, as you can see right there. That's definitely a scary thing. Meru will be on the play here, but that Acidic Slime is still a pretty big threat.
Yeah, Acidic Slime is probably probably one of the best 5-drops in this matchup. What we'll see boarded in, so Bhanot's strategy is going to be to go big, to play those really big cards, creatures like we were saying. Outside of that, there's a bunch of different ways he can go. He can, if he wants to try to get rid of the Acidic Slimes, he can try to Pillar of Flame them. That said, you really wish that, you really kind of want to stop the Acidic Slimes before they hit the battlefield, which he doesn't have a good way of doing.
Right.
So you could see him try to slaughter games them. There's a lot of narrow answers he has to them.
Yeah.
On Duterte's side, we'll for sure see the Deathrite Shamans as well.
We've seen Meru bring in a Slaughter Games in this top 8 already against his Rock opponent.
Yeah, in the top 8, I think it was a play which originally we didn't like, but the more we talked about it afterward, we realized it was a pretty heads-up play by Meru. He played in the top 8. He played against David Kilmartin's Black-Green Rock deck. Typically not a deck where you'd want to Slaughter Games against. But I think Meru looked at the deck list and realized that Kilmartin only had 14 creatures in the deck. Slaughter Games out just the Desecration Demons.
Which is the biggest one.
Which is the biggest creature, and left his opponent with very few ways to actually win the game.
Yeah, and in that situation there was David, I believe, had 5 mana, and we're thinking, oh, he's going to name... Well, actually, he was on 4 mana. That's right. So we thought Meru was going to name Thragtusk to cut off the 5-drop coming the next turn, but he names Desecration Demon. Everybody says, well, why didn't he play the Desecration Demon on 4? He was holding Cremate. Yeah.
And I remember what I really liked about the play is that Meru's hand was a ton of Thragtusks and a Slaughter Games. So once he got rid of the Desecration Demons, it was just very hard for his opponent to actually race, a couple Thragtusks.
Yeah. So we're underway here. I believe Daniel went to 6, but I will confirm that for you. Deathrite Shaman, that is confirmed. Daniel did go to 6. Deathrite Shaman is the play from Daniel, and Pillar of Flame from Meru, and that's something I wasn't sure.
So Meru did go, the option of 2 Pillar of Flames. There's a bunch of reasons to do it. Mana creatures from Duterte are pretty threatening in this matchup, as they really just are 1 mana rampant growths. Also, it does answer Acidic Slimes, and as we saw here, Deathrite Shamans. I think it overall has enough utility that Meru has decided to use it in this matchup.
He did just draw Slaughter Games that we were just referring to, so we may see that Slaughter Games happening next turn in order to cut off those Acidic Slimes.
Right. Well, he has to be worried because Duterte still got to stick a mana creature.
Yeah.
what Bhanot's biggest worry is that if Duterte plays, a turn 4 acidic slime.
So Grizzly Salvage from Duterte is going to hit Unburial Rites, Vault of the Archangel, Fiend Hunter, Grizzly Salvage, and Restoration Angel.
Yeah, and a pretty stacked 5 here. Duterte is going to get to keep either a land or a Restoration Angel, whichever one he chooses, and also now has Unburial Rites in the graveyard.
Yeah, so he's going to keep Vault of the Archangel.
Yeah, Vault's pretty good in this matchup, actually. A lot of times, if you start getting to a war of trading Thrag Tusks, and lots of times these mana creatures, the Vault really can put a life total out of reach for Duterte. It also gives these Absence Pilgrims a lot more utility than they would normally have.
Yeah, just that Death Touch can be big. So Meru's going to follow up with a Grizzly Salvage of his own after the Absence Pilgrim knocks him to 19.
His next 2 draws were a combo with each other. It was the Harvest Pyre and Boros Reckoner. Unfortunately, he cannot take the Harvest Pyre here. He only has 1 in his 75, so we're not going to be seeing that interaction this game.
Yeah, so besides those, you see a Thrag Tusk and what is that in between there? So Thrag Tusk, Grizzly Salvage.
Yeah, Thrag Tusk, Grizzly Salvage. I'm not sure on that last card there. We'll see it. I think it's a Purify the Grave, which he has 1 of in the sideboard. Which is actually, if it is very strong against this Singleton Unburial Rites that's in Daniel's yard.
So Meru's going to untap here.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see if he's going to go for the Slaughter Games here, and if he does, what card he's going to name. If I'm him in this situation, I'm really worried about an Acidic Slime this next turn. It's so strong in the matchup.
So it looks like he's not going to Slaughter Games this turn.
Well, he's not going to be able to because of casting Faithless Looting.
Yeah, he's going to Faithlessly loot here, and he took the Reckoner out of that Grizzly Salvage pile, by the way.
I'm not sure that Meru has another land yet.
Yeah, that might
be
the
reason.
reason.
Now he's got to be really concerned about Acidic Slime.
So he's taking a look at his hand, deciding what exactly he wants to throw in the graveyard. But I think you're right. I'm seeing possibly double Sever the Bloodline on the far left, or maybe I'm not seeing that correctly because I think he only runs 1.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so.
I feel like I see 1 on the far left.
We'll go and see what he discards here. His hand has a lot of removal spells in it, which is great. Unfortunately, he could get slimed out of the game. He's going to discard a pair of Angels.
So yeah, discards Gisela, discards Angel of Serenity, and has a Pillar of Flame for that Avacyn's Pilgrim, which will again shut off the Acidic Slime for 1 turn.
Yeah, he bought himself a turn, but as noted, he didn't hit his land right there.
Yeah. So there you see Vault of the Archangel is the play from Dan Duterte. And
speaking of not hitting lands, Daniel doesn't have the 5th land either.
No. So yeah. Dan taking a look and seeing what exactly is that card, and I think it must have been Purify the Grave.
And I like this play from Meru, even though
going to cast it right away
because he's planning of what's going to happen when he draws the land. He wants to make sure he gets value out of this Purify the Grave because he's not sure. Once he hits this land, he's not sure when he's going to have time to cast it again.
Right.
And speaking of lands, there we go. His 4th one does show up right in time. We're going to see. Is it Thrag Tusk? Is it Acidic Slime? What's he going to name here? I think I'm going to expect a Slime.
Yeah, that seems like the safest bet, especially considering his land situation at this point. And so you see Slaughter Games on the table from Meru.
Yeah, what's the name going to be?
I think he's thinking about it.
Well, the interesting thing about not naming Acidic Slime is if you look at the mana situation, Acidic Slime Daniel only has, first of all, only has single green. So if you really do think that Daniel does not have another land in his hand, you might be able to let him have Acidic Slimes.
Yeah, so whatever was named, I'm guessing it wasn't Acidic Slime. It was Angel of Serenity. You see that Daniel actually does have Thrag Tusk and Acidic Slime in his hand there.
Right, well what this does is that this is the correct play for the late game. If you look at these 2 deck lists, once Meru gets rid of Angel of Serenities, then he's rest assured that if this game goes late, he has the more powerful late game. Now he just has to make it there.
Yeah, he's setting things up for later, investing in his future. But
it's a pretty daring play because, if Daniel hits another green source off the top here,
right.
It's going to be very hard for Meru. We see an Acidic Slime, and I believe Restoration Angels in his hand as well.
I think so, yeah.
That's... Meru will not get to play another spell this game if a green source is hit right now.
Yeah, and even if any land is hit right now, Thragtusk is very likely to come down next turn.
Well, okay, sorry. Actually, I should correct myself there. He could get he could get a chance to sever it, perhaps.
So, look, Dan ends the turn with a Restoration Angel, draws a forest off the top, and finds that acidic slime. Well, he finds the forest and has the acidic slime. As we mentioned, Meru loses his Godless Shrine.
Meru needs a land here so he can sever away that acidic slime. Otherwise, things are going to get really bad for him. And I don't believe he hits.
Yeah, and this is why I think naming the slime would have been better, because you gotta worry. I mean, I understand.
You gotta sometimes play to win, and
Right.
Meru wanted to make that slaughter games count. It might be that, he felt that maybe even if Thragtusk is made, and he just felt like he wasn't able to deal with any of the 5-drops, so he was kind of hoping for Daniel to hiccup a little bit on lands, which didn't happen.
So burns away that acidic slime and passes back to Daniel, who swings in with the Restoration Angel. Restoration Angel now just going totally on offense. Daniel adds a Thragtusk to the board, so even if he had named acidic slime there, he would be up a land. He'd be still facing down these two creatures, most likely.
Yeah, and interestingly, he used Rolling Templar to take care of acidic slime.
Yeah.
So a lot of ways, Meru, to me, it seems like he knows this matchup here. After he saw Arbor Elf and Absence Pilgrim, anticipates Deathrite Shaman getting sided in, figures Rolling Templar is going to be a pretty good card in the situation.
Yeah. Finds a 4th land now. Well, it's his 5th, but the 4th on the table after that acidic slime.
Well, he's got some options here. He has Boros Reckoner that he can cast.
He has Unburial Rites, but yeah, he does have an Angel of Serenity. Am I seeing that right? It does look like Unburial Rites?
It looks like he has Unburial Rites, Sever the Bloodline, Boros Reckoner. He's going to have to just buy time until he can cast both Hazardous Unburial Rites. And once he does, and this is I think the line he was building toward when he played Slaughter games. He has this great late game. His first half of Unburial Rites can hit Angel of Serenity. The second half can hit Gisela, Blade of Gold Knight. The dream team of those two angels together should be pretty good. Well, it's going to be because he knows that Duterte can't draw an Angel of Serenity to answer that. I don't think he doesn't believe that Duterte really has an answer at that point, and I'm not sure he does.
Unfortunately, Dan just drew another Unburial Rites, and that acidic slime was not exiled from that Rolling Templar, so that acidic slime is an option.
So if Duterte, right, and if I'm Daniel Duterte, I have to think Unburial Rites is how I'm losing this game. Those two angels are pretty scary. I just want to go at my opponent's mana base. So we could see Unburial Rites on slime, and then it doesn't matter whether Bhanot kills it. It's then you can see that you can Unburial Rites again. You can see it get Restoration Angeled. You can really see why acidic slime can just be a jerk of a card.
Yeah. Wizards making green too powerful.
Green's so good.
So
historically a common complaint in Magic.
Yeah. So Restoration Angel gets in. That Boros Reckoner from Meru last turn is going to hold off the Thragtusk, but we're going to see Unburial Rites on acidic slime, and Meru is going to lose his untapped land.
Yeah. So Meru did remove the late game from Daniel Duterte's deck, but Daniel's showing that he doesn't, at post board, he really doesn't need that late game to win.
And Meru finds another land, which again he's just 1 mana short.
Well, if I'm Bhanot, what I do here is I shock, I sever the acidic slime, and I just hope that Daniel cannot find another acidic slime.
Yeah. I think that's what you got to do.
You don't
right?
like, but it's a play I think you have to make.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to be concerned at this point about his life total. That he's still got a few more turns before he's dead to that Restoration Angel.
Exactly.
So he's in a reasonably safe position, but yeah, going to 8 here.
Yeah,
and
so
it looks
like
he's going to do exactly as you mentioned, sever the Bloodline on the acidic slime to prevent any Restoration Angel shenanigans or further Unburial Rites.
So I do like, Meru has been very aware of just how good acidic slime is in the matchup once they've been on the table. And he's going to go ahead and he flashes back the Unburial Rites on the Fiend Hunter, which threatens the swing for 8. So
yeah, and that's it. Dan Duterte has the game and match with Junk Reanimator, and maybe it's me. I think I tend to be a conservative player, but I think if I'm afraid of acidic